Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Phoenix Phenomenon. I'm your host, Ghostwriter Roxanne McCarty-O'Kane, and thank you for joining us once again. For this edition, we are having a chat to the lovely Zoe Sparks and sharing her transformational journey of not only becoming a first-time author, but a four-time author, which is an incredible achievement. So thank you so much for joining us today, Zoe. It's lovely to have you.
Thanks, Roxanne. It's really great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Wonderful, not a problem. So for those of you listening and watching at home, Zoe is the award-winning businesswoman behind Spectacular Enterprises. She's a travel guru, a speaker, a business mentor, and also the founder of the Shine Businesswomen, which has members all around the world. And of course, the thing that's attracted me to her today is that she's a full-time author and has had such incredible journeys of releasing a trilogy of books in 3 consecutive years, and then also a compilation book to marry up with her Shine Businesswomen's venture. So there's been so much happening for Zoe in the last few years, which she's going to be sharing with us, starting of course with the development of her incredible business. So the first book that Zoe released was Shine and Thrive, released in 2015, followed by Healthy and Wealthy in 2016, Award and Reward in 2017, and the Shining Spotlight compilation in 2019. So aside from running an incredibly successful business, so you can't do keyboard something ridiculous. So I'd love for you, Zoe, to share with us how your business evolved and when it was that you thought it was time to document your incredible idea in these books.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for the opportunity today to share my stories. So my business is Spectacular World Travel and Events, and we're an event and travel management company that's based on the Sunshine Coast since 2000. So we're actually 22 years old. And my business, I worked very hard at building the business. I've always had a great team of consultants in there. We had a couple of different locations. And we basically did the awards circuit, as I call it, in the mid-2000s. Over that time, I was always very heavily involved in the Sunshine Coast Businesswomen's Network and other Chamber of Commerce's and business networking events. And I guess because we started to get a bit of a reputation that the business, myself and my staff were winning awards and doing really well, people would gravitate towards me, asking me to mentor them and help them. That's something that's always been a huge passion of mine. I'm very passionate about leadership, reward and recognition, helping people to be the best they can be. And I guess that's always has been my approach into running a business. And I genuinely love taking time out of my day to mentor people, talk to them about starting up, what they could do to get going. And I guess that's what led me to my creative outlet is writing. I've always loved to write. I've always been a person that writes everything down, runs my life by lists, but it helps my thought process. So by writing down and pulling things together. And what I started to do, as the business was continuing to grow, I started to not have so much time to give to other women and other business people that were setting up to be able to spend quality time with them, helping them through. But it was a really great passion. So I guess what I started to do, and it was in 2012, 2013, so 12 or 13 years after I'd started the business, I started to write down everything I'd learned. I thought if I can write these down as tips and pull it together in some sort of document, that I could actually use that and send that out to people so that I could have a conversation with them, but then support it. So I guess it started out as a little bit of this is my way of business coaching, and I'm not a professional business coach in any shape or form, but I love to mentor, and it was how can I share and help. So that's what led me to create Strive and Thrive, which is 100 tips to small business success. And it really does cover that. It covers the admin, marketing, sales, customer service, all different sections. And the whole aim was to help students that were looking at how do I start a little business, what do I do, for people that were working out of home, what do I do, where can I go. And it was also aimed at, well, how can I take, I've started, but how can I take my business to the next level? So there's basically 100 tips in there that you can tick off and say, well, I've done this, I've done that, and hopefully it will help you and your staff and your business grow.
Excellent. That's great. And I'd love to find out from you, you know, being the first time author at that stage, what was the process like for you? I mean, you have all of this knowledge already in your mind, but what was the process like for you to sit down and go, okay, I'm going to, you know, make this official and put this into a book? Did you come across any hurdles during that process, or was it all very smooth flowing for you?
It was quite, the process was quite smooth, I guess, because I am an organised planner, and I do like to sort of help people, and I'm very systemised. How it all started was I basically did write 1 to 100. Can I come up with 100 tips that I can help people? I wrote down 100 tips, then I divided them into categories. So I actually found that part quite easy to do for me, and the writing flowed. I would spend nearly every night, I'd say, okay, well, I'm going to work on 2 or 3 of these tips and start writing. Where I really needed help was I ended up, and people often laugh because I do actually handwrite. I don't type on a computer. Initially, I handwrite it all out because, again, it's my passion and outlet is to write. I'm not an artist or musician or any of those sorts of things. I just love to write. So it was very therapeutic, and I got a lot out of it personally. But then I suddenly ended up, and I'd got books and books that I ended up typing and editing myself as I went. But I knew that I'm not a qualified writer. I'm not an author. I don't know where to start. How do I publish? How do I put it together? And that's where it came into play. So whereas the writing for me was quite easy, or there was, and probably because there was a system, but then I needed help. I had no idea what to do with these thousands of pages of writing and how to turn it into a book.
Yeah, that is a bit of a conundrum to be in, isn't it? So did you have any idea at that stage of what the next steps would be, or how was it that you managed to find your publisher and you know, get yourself on the right path in that process?
Yeah. I started to look on the Sunshine Coast in regards to, well, how do I print? Because I guess initially I thought that I would probably get it set, put together, and almost do it as a PDF style book. So I approached the lady who did all of my marketing at the time, and she had recently moved to Brisbane. And I said to her, I have all of this writing, it's all set out, but I need someone to pretty it up, make it look good, go through the process. And she said, what you actually need a publisher. You need someone to edit it, put it together. And why are you doing it as a PDF? You know, it's a proper book. Turn it into a proper book.
Yeah.
So I hit the jackpot very, very early. And she was a lady who was, she had a relationship with a publishing guy called Ocean Reeve. And she introduced me to Ocean. We all had a meeting and said, what are we going to do? And he just lit that spark in me. He talked to me about, this is what I can do. This is how we can put it together. He was very reasonably priced. It was very much a, you know, send me your manuscript and we'll start to put together the process. And all of a sudden, I think it dawned that, oh my gosh, I can actually turn this into a real book and be a real author. Whereas that probably hadn't been my intention initially, but that's what I did. And then it became addictive. And I think because I enjoyed the process, what happened, the results, I knew very quickly that I was helping people and that people were enjoying the book and it was helping them in their businesses. And for a while I was promoting it as being, you know, this is a really reasonably priced business coach, you know, buy my book and this tells you exactly what I did to get my business up and running off the ground and the success that it turned to be. So I guess that's then what made me then think, well, okay, one isn't enough. I need a trilogy.
Wonderful. That's great. And it turns out perfectly the way that you structured your first book, you know, lent really beautifully to then building on those things with the other elements that you touched on. So having the holistic viewpoint of being a business person, then of course the award and reward going on to, you know, find other ways to promote yourself through the awards processes and get that extra credibility behind you. So it's almost as if in the back of your mind you're saying you knew it was going to be
Yeah, and I think, as I say, as soon as I started the process, I could see that was going to happen. And because of my system, and I guess that 100 tips is a little bit different to sharing your story or writing a novel or doing that sort of thing. I had a process that I could follow and do my part, but then I needed the big guns to come in and actually bring it to reality. And I've always had the thoughts and ideas, but I'm not a very creative person. So to see it come to life and to actually pick up your book, see it there and think, wow, I can use this to make an impact. I can use this to help people. And it became quite addictive. But a trilogy of small business books is it for me in that arena, but I won't stop writing. That to me ignited a special spark that will keep going, I think.
Amazing. That's awesome. And you mentioned just briefly, you know, seeing the results from your first book. Are you comfortable with sharing, you know, the kind of impact and kind of reach that you were able to have?
Yeah, well, I built, so I have a website that sits behind the book, zoesparks.com, and that's all that does really, is promote the books, and it tells you a little bit about the book and what they do, and there is a system. So to me, it's almost like, well, you start with the Strive and Thrive, which is if you're starting out in business, looking at starting up, looking at going to the next level. So it's a business book for anyone who's in small business. Then I started to look at it with Healthy and Wealthy from the perspective of, well, how do you make your business, you're starting to grow, it's starting to happen. So how do you make your business profitable and healthy and wealthy, but also making sure that you're looking after yourself and keeping yourself healthy and wealthy? And then we progressed into award and reward. So basically a little following has accumulated there where the books has come out so people would follow. At the time, I was very much writing blogs that I would put up once a week. That sort of shared bits and pieces. Someone said to me, you know, use snippets out of your book. You've already got all your tips. You can turn those into blogs and that will encourage your audience. I've always promoted on social media. But I felt a lot of value came out of I would take stands at business expos throughout Southeast Queensland and I'd promote the books, talk about what I did, and that basically made the books take off. But it always kept slow, and as anyone will tell you, when you're writing a book, you've got to market it. You've got to put so much time and effort into the marketing. And I guess at the end of the day, I'm still a small business owner that runs a travel and event management company. So I've always have done a little bit of promotion and pushed it out there, but probably not as much as it could. But what it did was it sowed the seed. I could see the reach and I could see that it was working. And I ended up a little bit back in the situation that people would start saying, well, we've read these, now can you mentor us, or can you spend time one-on-one with us? And I was still in that same situation. Well, I can't really, I have a full-time job, you know, I'll do what I can, but I don't try to be a business coach that I do that for a living. But that's what set the seed to set up Shine Businesswomen, because I've always been super passionate about women in business, always super keen about reward and recognition, recognizing people and pushing people forward. And I was thinking, well, how can I create something that basically puts together my talent for events and putting on events with those passions for helping others and bringing things together? And that's how Shine Businesswomen was created. And that has really been the massive outcome that has probably come out of the books. So it's not directly related to the books, but we've now created a network that we've got almost 1,000 followers. We've got 423, I think, members at the last count. And they're from all over the world, not just locally. And that was my aim. And we put on events. Obviously, they're online at the moment. We're not doing too much in the physical space. But my aim was to take events around Australia, and we will look at then going overseas as well, to basically bring top-notch speakers, the same sort of education and personal and professional development for women. So the books were the catalyst for that. And that's now running at 1 million miles an hour, which is exciting.
Absolutely, yes. And so your fourth book was actually linked to the Shine Businesswomen's network, as I mentioned. Shining the Spotlight. Did you have a copy of that there? I've got mine.
I do.
So Shining the Spotlight, and this was a very different process for you, wasn't it? Because obviously you had created the content for Shining the Spotlight over 52 weeks, so it features 52 women and that you have profiled through the network. So can you tell us a little bit about how different that process was? Because
yeah,
it's important for people to realise that, you know, becoming an author doesn't necessarily mean having to, you know, write tens of thousands of words. You can actually use content you've already created and repurpose it in a beautiful new way. So
yeah, and that was really exciting for me. So Shine Businesswomen was launched, and as soon as we launched, what we started to do was every week we would publish a story. So it's called Shining the Spotlight, and we would feature a business lady of varying their based around the world, different ages, different levels, different experience. It was basically a story to help encourage others to go for it, to again help them with some personal and professional development. So every week we were doing the blog, and as we got to the end of the year, I was starting to think, what can we do for our first birthdays coming up for Shine Businesswomen? Want to do something special? How do we do this? Light bulb moment. Yay, we will have 52 stories, because we had been publishing them every week from wonderful, amazing women from all different sorts of walks of life, the sort of stories that people love, and people do read and look out for our stories every week. So we know it's read, we know they're enjoyed. And it was, how can we shine the spotlight on them even more? Which, of course, they were all super excited to be a part of a book and a publication. But it was a very different process, because I basically had the stories there, ready-made, so to speak, and all ready to go. But there was a massive editing process, and that's where it was so important to have professionals come in and help me with that side of it, because we needed to make sure that it was fairly consistent. So whereas I usually let them guide me with their introduction and they would have different questions, of course, all people write very differently. So some people had written reams, some people had written short answers. The whole context and how people write or wrote was very different in different avenues. So it actually took a lot more, I would say, processing and putting together by the publishers and people that came in to edit and put it all together behind the scenes, because we needed to make sure that it flowed. So we needed to make sure, you know, the pictures were a consistent size, the introductions were written in a similar way. So there was a lot of adjusting to do. But it was one of the proudest moments of my life to launch that book, because so many of those amazing ladies were in the room. We did a book launch, and everybody was just thrilled. Everyone was happy. Everyone's stories were out there, and it's been huge. It has been huge. So it's been an amazing journey, and nothing makes me shine, I don't think, more than shining on other women and supporting other women. And it's been terrific. So whole different way of writing. And obviously I didn't have to write a lot, but I had to pull it all together and rewrite. And then the professionals came in and rewrote my rewriting. So no, it was an amazing experience, very different, and showed me a different side to the industry. So it's very addictive. That's 4 books. I don't know if I'm going to stop there though.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting to see what the next topic is going to be. You've got so much knowledge and experience inside you. So yeah, I'm kind of having my hands to see what happens next.
Yeah, I've always fancied myself as a bit of a novelist, so you never know.
Yes, I would love that. Get credit on that, Zoe. Awesome. And so I'd love to find out, and for people at home as well, how your confidence as an author grew. Like once you had this launch the first time, were the second and third books in your trilogy a lot easier for you to produce? Did you feel more comfortable, or did they each present their own challenges in some ways?
I think, no, definitely the process became a lot easier. But again, I think that's having that support behind. So obviously it sits with me, I've got to write it. And the best thing I found for me was having, as I say, each of the business books was 100 tips. So it was easy for me to divide into parts and say, this is what I need to do. These are my deadlines. And I'm pretty good at holding myself accountable. And my advice to anyone who's writing would be, first of all, have your plan. You need to have your plan, and you need to give yourself goals in that you've got to do so much, because life is busy, life gets in the way. I know that even in these times where we're in isolation, I still seem to have a very full day, even though nobody's traveling. But it's just interesting how, you know, you've got different projects. So you've got to keep yourself on task. So the first one, it probably did take me 2 to 3 years to write, because it was almost like a little bit of a hobby. Oh, I'll do this, and one day I'll turn it into a PDF or an ebook that people can download. And I really enjoyed the process and I loved it. But then when I saw it being brought to life and into what it could do, and yes, it was a massive boost for my confidence. It also enabled me to really reach out. You know, I did these small business expos throughout Queensland. I took it to Sydney because I worked in Sydney for 5 years. So I had a bit of a client base there, and from the conferences I do, a lot of those contacts would sort of jump on and buy a book. One of the best things that happened to me was a lady in Western Australia who was a business development manager for a company that I worked for in my event business. She actually ordered 200 books so that she gave one to every single one of her franchisees in WA so that they could read it through. And those things are real buzz moments. I mean, they're fantastic, and they do make you excited. And if you're someone that likes to contribute, and I think most of us, we've all got a story in us, and we've all got something to share. We've all got something to talk about. But when you actually see it rolling out, it really boosts your confidence and makes you think, wow, I can do this. And then often it will be the what's next. And it's quite interesting because as I've met lots of ladies, and I do have ladies gravitate towards me now that say, can you help me with my book launch? Can you help me do this? Which is awesome, because we all need help and support. We need people like yourself that can help bring these things to life. You know, we can't do every angle ourselves. But the reward and the good feeling you get from seeing other people's things shine and their businesses grow and their books launch. And most of them seem to say, oh, well, maybe in my next book. So I'm sure it becomes addictive for everybody, not just me.
That's right. Awesome. That's great. And I imagine you must have had so many, you know, probably even countless times where you've had some incredible feedback from people that have really taken your advice and your pearls of wisdom from your books and really transformed their businesses.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have a very a close inner circle. So whereas Shine gravitates to everywhere and we promote it to everywhere, there is a real cluster of people that I've become really close to over the last couple of years in particular, which is amazing. And when you hear them say, and I've had 2 or 3 people, and you're one of those as well, that have said, coming to your Shine conference just turned on that light and helped me look at a new direction or a new, how can I go to the next level? And for me, I get so much reward from that. If I can make a difference in someone's life where they say, I'm doing this and I'm happy, but where next? Where am I going next? Because I'm a true believer that we all need to constantly keep learning and developing. I've been in the same business now for 30 years, 22 years as a business owner, but we're constantly looking for ways to change, to pivot, to grow and develop. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps everything ticking over. And I think if we can all find that passion, and a lot of that comes from reading people's stories. I'm an avid reader. There's a massive pile of books behind me that are still being ready to read. And I think anybody that shares their story or writes and has something to talk about, there's a message in every single one of those books. We can all take something out of every single book we read. And that's a good feeling to be on the other side of that and realize that you can impact others and make them feel good about themselves and then feel, I can do this, I can grow, what's next for me. That's massive. That's huge. That's when we're making a difference and leaving a legacy, as they say.
Absolutely. And it's so beautiful to see your whole face light up as you talk about it.
No, always have been super passionate about people and leadership, growth and development, and hopefully that shines through in the books, because that's what it's all about. And if I can continue to share other people's journeys as well with books such as this, that's fantastic. Yeah, that gives ladies a platform, and that's because these ones are aimed at women in business. It gives them a platform to spread their message, grow their tribes, and make them feel good about themselves. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest buzz for me, knowing that people are happy and shining.
Yeah, perfect. No, that's great. Shine, yeah, it's the word shine. It just every day. It's amazing. So I do ask people, you know, what their personal Phoenix phenomenon has been in the process of becoming an author. I'm feeling for you it was leading to creating shine. Correct me if I'm wrong. What was the biggest, I guess, personal transformation for you from, you know, way back when you first started writing Strive and Thrive to where you are now, having 4 books under your belt?
Yeah, it's been a huge, and the word journey comes up a lot. I don't know if it's a word I love to use all the time, but in real terms, in 2015 when this started, my whole world started to change in different ways. Whereas I still love travel and events, and of course that's an amazing industry. Everyone loves travel and events, but it gave me a whole new scope on life as to how can I contribute more, and rather than just doing the whole travel experience, it's how can I help others and help others to grow. So that's been massive for me. It's also led, I'm very conscious that I've got 2 teenage boys. Well, actually, no, one's 20 now, but the other one is 17, and he's in grade 12 and about to finish. And almost 12 months ago, I made a conscious decision that, okay, technically he's going to finish grade 12 in November this year. What's next for you? Because I'm not someone that will just stay doing the same thing. I'm always looking for next steps. And so it did lead me. I've actually realised a lifetime goal of going to uni. I'm studying a master's at the moment online in my spare time. So it's actually helped drive me to want to look for, well, where's my next? What's my next thing? And I have a whole load of new things and new experiences. So uni had always been a little thing in my mind that was one day, you know, yeah, I'll do that one day. I'm going to do that one day. And all of a sudden it was, I tell people how to make things happen, how to grow, how to develop. Shine that back on you for a while now. What are your next steps? And it's been fantastic because I'm studying a Master's of Leadership, which suits my personality to a T. But again, it's helping me to grow and develop in that whole business world. So I have no idea what's next really, but I know that there's still a lot more out there for me. Writing will definitely be involved because it's what I love to do. So yeah, you know, I'm continuing to evolve because even though I'm mentoring and helping others, it doesn't mean, and the day I stop and don't keep developing myself, well then that will be sad. So yeah, still got a lot of life in me yet to see where I take my business.
Absolutely. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. Thanks, Zoe. And I know you have dropped a few tips throughout our conversation for people who are, you know, looking to become an author themselves. I guess, do you have any more wisdom or any more people who are perhaps, excuse me, sitting on the fence? You know, maybe they're still in the aspiring author category, but they haven't yet taken that leap to get into action.
Yeah, I would say be brave and be courageous, because the best things in life usually come out of pushing through a fear or pushing ourselves to take that next step. And they need to be contacting someone like you to talk about, I have this idea, I have this germ of a thing in my brain that's growing and I don't know what to do with it. Because if they talk to someone like you, you can help them, put them on the right direction. And I think a lot of the time that's all it takes. A lot of people want to write a book and they have this whole, I'd love to do it, but they just don't know where to start. And again, you need people to help you through that process. So you need the support, because it doesn't matter how good a writer you are, it always needs to be edited and improved. A lot of people don't know how to say their story. I've actually got a lady I'm working with at the moment, and she said, I've got so much to talk about, but I can't write and I don't want to write. What do I do? I usually will record little videos and do that to get my messages across. Now that's awesome in a social media world, but she knows she has a book in her, but needs help. And so I've said to her, you need to go and talk to Roxanne. She does that. That's what she does. And that's it. So just because you may think you're not a great writer or my English isn't that terrific, it doesn't all come down to that, because there's professionals and helpers that will help you bring it to light. You've just got to have that seed, that this is what I want to do. I've got a message to share. And I do believe we've all got a book in us. We've all got a message to share that someone else needs to hear. And the rewards are massive. So push through the fear. Once you've taken that first step, it will all start to fall into place. And I'm always happy to talk to anyone that wants to ask. I love shouting the praises of you and Ocean and all the people that can make these things happen. So yeah, let's do that and share your message, because you've got something to share.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Zoe. If I can pull you up on something just quickly, that's the first time you've mentioned the word fear. Was there any fear for you at any stage of your journey, or were you super confident the whole time about, about taking that leap and becoming an author, particularly when you found out about the whole turning it from a PDF into a book thing?
Yeah, I think one of my own strengths is that I've always been a confident person. I was the lucky person that was born with confidence and born with the belief, and I'm sure my parents instilled this into me, that you can do anything you want to do, you can be anything you want to be, you can achieve anything you want to achieve if you can make it happen. So the biggest things that have been a success for me, and the things have been, I think if anyone says they're never scared or they're ever not frightened, I don't think they're telling the truth, because it can show up in other ways. So for someone that is a confident person, but particularly what's been happening with COVID in the world over the last few weeks, my business has been decimated and shot to pieces, and it's looking at, well, where to next? And there's lots of, I'll come up with ideas, and it's those little butterflies in your stomach and those little adrenaline vibes that for me are actually a surge, but it's a different type of fear. So I think no matter who we are, I feel very lucky. I can usually push myself without too much effort into that next step. And that's what I've learned with all the people I mentor. They usually get to a boundary or a level, and all of our boundaries and levels are different. And it's just then what pushes you over. What's that little big thing? And I think for me, I had one person say to me years and years ago when I first started working, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I think if we actually look at our goals and dreams and say, well, okay, if it doesn't happen, what's the worst thing that can happen? Usually it's not that bad. And usually for me, that's enough to determine, well, give it a shot, give it a try, because most people are supportive and they want to see you succeed and they want to help you win. So if you're prepared to share your dreams or talk about what you want to do with other people as well, often they can be the catalyst that pushes you out of that fear zone. So I think we all experience the fear. I am lucky that I will just dive in and whatever happens, happens. And usually, well, 9 times out of 10, it comes out great. So yeah, give it a shot.
Perfect. Thanks, Zoe. And I know you've mentioned your website already, but what's the best way for people to get hold of your books or to connect with you if they want to find out more about the other components of your business and about Shine?
Yeah, well, shinebusinesswomen.com is the main platform, and you can actually purchase all of my books on there as well as the Shine book. We put on there our online business events, and it tells you all about Shine, and that's got an email on there, which is Zoe Sparks at shinebusinesswomen.com. Always happy to talk to anybody and help them through. It tells you a little bit about my story. It will lead you in other areas, but yeah, if you contact shinebusinesswomen.com, it's all there, tells you all about the books. I'm always happy to share my story and give people contacts and help them in any way, shape or form. And of course, we're on all the social media platforms. So at Shine Businesswomen, we'd love you to connect and touch base.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your amazing journey, there's that word, with us. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks very much, Roxanne. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you today.
Oh, absolutely. Wouldn't pass up an opportunity to have a chat with you, Zoe. And I really hope that all of you watching and listening at home have found some amazing information and inspiration to pursue your own books and see what we can get you for your future. So thank you so much again, Zoe. Appreciate your time.
No, thank you.